is pretty much systematic each week. As you go deeper into the season, we pull back a little bit on the number of reps to how we go through training camp. I think there's a science out there that we try to understand from our strength and conditioning staff to get them to be their best. We understand on the football side of it what we need to do to get them there. I think our kids feel really good about where they're at mentally, physically, and emotionally to go play their best football here on Thursday night.
Yeah, Josh, when did you sort of have the realization that Joe was going to be your guy, and sort of what was the tipping point there?
He's practiced with the one group here for I don't know, probably the last 7 to 10 days, somewhere in that. I think we came out of a second scrimmage and felt like he had taken some positive steps in the shorter amount of time as far as time on task. Some of the other guys being here through spring continued to break up those reps pretty much evenly. Joe got a majority with the first team offense there for the last part of training camp and here into this game week.
Adam Sparks, Knox News. Josh, in your offense, do you expect a quarterback to make a lot of difference-making plays or just run the offense? What's the balance of those two roles?
First of all, being a sound decision maker, right, and getting it into playmakers' hands is extremely important. There's a lot more on them in the tempo that we play with as far as protections, run checks, and pass to run or run to pass checks. There's a lot on their plate that they got to be able to process extremely quickly. That position is about extending and making plays. And that sometimes that's turning a negative into zero, not just a big play that shows up on a stat sheet that everybody in the stadium can see too. All three of those guys have shown that ability. Joe certainly has the ability to do that with his feet, escaping some quarterback run game that Hendy can provide, and Harrison can at times as well. But his ability to extend plays and broken plays turn into big plays is a part of who we have to be too.
Hey, Coach, we spoke to Peyton Manning last week, and he said he had spoken to Joe Milton just kind of about, the offense moving forward. Did Milton share any of that conversation with you about what those two spoke about?
He did not, no. I think Peyton's, spoken with most of the guys that have been on campus here at some point, during his previous stop in early part of summer too.
Coach, two things. Number one, what can you tell us about Bowling Green? And two, how much pride do you take in the teaching aspect of coaching?
Coaching is teaching. It's just another word for it. From what you do in the classroom to what you do in life to your experiences on the football field, that's simply what it is. Great coaches take a lot of great pride in being teachers, right? If you go out on a practice field and you just hear a bunch of yelling and screaming, what's really inside of that message, right? The guys inside of our locker room are prideful. They want to play at a high level. They want to do it right. That's been shown time and time again. If they're not hearing your message right, I think you got to look at how are you describing that message to them and making sure that you frame it in the right way where they can accept it, understand it, and then go do it. But in this game, it's important to speak from passion, not emotion. And I think that's something that we talk about as a coaching staff quite a bit.
Josh, how comfortable are you with your defense going into your opener?
Excited about that group. You guys have heard me talk about it. When we finished up spring, that was a really thin unit, hit hard by the transfer portal. In respects or in timing, a lot of it before I had even gotten here. Adding the transfers that we added, experience in some for a portion of them, some youth, guys that have multiple years here as well, depth, experience, right culture pieces as well. I think that was a huge part of the hit or being able to hit on those guys in May that has helped our defense. But the other part of it is just the way our kids that have been here since January, February have really grown inside of each of their position rooms. I look at, the linebacker group, it's a completely different meeting room than it was when we were here in spring ball. And some of the guys that came back from injury, but just their growth as individuals, human beings, and then an understanding of what we're doing. Adding some young pieces in the secondary with a couple of transfers as well. And then the depth at the defensive line position. There's great competition. You have to strain every single day. Every rep counts. There's pressure on you to go perform at a really high level. We got great coaches on that side of the ball. They're very cohesive. There's a great understanding of what we're doing defensively. Excited to go watch these guys play on Thursday night. I really am. They, through training camp, we always pull clips every night when we go into our team meeting of guys playing with great effort, strain. We use the word attack inside of our team meeting room. And that group, there's orange jerseys flying around every single day. It's been fun to watch.
Josh, you spoke earlier about maybe finding that balance between guys making right decisions at quarterback versus making some big plays and generating some of those things. How much has that maybe changed in an era where football games have gone from, 20, 25 points to a lot of 40-point games? It just seems like it's a different game these days.
Certainly the game's being played differently than it was 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Part of that's just guys spreading the field and putting people in more one-on-one situations in space. You make one guy miss, it turns into a much bigger play than if you're just playing inside the box in 22 or 12 personnel. The quarterback position, the decision-making is a must, right? And guys that make consistent bad decisions are ultimately going to get you beat. So yes, you got to be a great decision maker. Yes, we want you to extend and make some big plays too, but those plays present themselves. The first thing is learning how not to get you beat. And that doesn't mean you pull the reins back on kids, but learning and giving them opportunities to grow in how to extend and make plays inside of the play. The quarterback position, the biggest part of it's being a distributor of the ball. You got to be a great decision maker. I mentioned in the run game, in the pass game, and you got to put the ball in the right player's hands at the right time.
Two things, Josh. Have you decided which coaches will be on the sideline and which will be up in the press box, and how does that look? And then two, what can you tell us about Bowling Green?
Coaches up in the press box. There's guys all over the place. The biggest thing is our coordinators will be up on the offense and defense side of the ball. Offensively, Joey Halsley will be up as well. As far as full-time guys, defensively, most of our full-time guys will be down. Excuse me, on the sideline. Bowling Green, I think you watched the video of them a year ago. It's a program that got a late start. There was some time off for them, getting them back, in the middle portion of the season. Only got a 5-game schedule out of it. I think athletically you'll see a different group this year than what you saw from them. Just time on task, strength and conditioning, being in better shape, being able to play harder for longer. Offensively for them, they're heavy 12 personnel. Have some athletic tight ends that they're able to create matchups with in the pass game. You got to do a great job of being gapped out and handling the misdirection, the counter plays. You got to be able to fit things extremely well. And then we got to play up the field and create some distortion and play on the other side of the line of scrimmage with our front as well. But you got to handle the play action pass too. Offensively, multiple in their fronts, 4 down, 3 down, mirage of coverages on the back end of it. I've had a couple of transfers that I assume are going to play for them, and one in the secondary, one on the edge, that are solid football players too. And so new coordinator, right? He was there a year ago as their corners coach, I believe, but he'll go back to calling. He's called it previously at other stops. Be interesting to see just how different they are on that side of the football, and then got to be able to adjust. Big part of early football games too, and you guys have seen it. A couple games that have been played is just special teams and penalties here early in the season. And we got to play penalty free, and the special teams got to do a great job of playing with great technique and understand their assignment. All 3 phases got to adjust. Week 1, you got to expect the unexpected and be ready to adjust and be able to communicate well from the sidelines.
Coach Al Lessar with the Associated Press. What's your comfort level with your team's COVID situation compared to the start of camp?
Yeah, this is an allergy cough, not a COVID cough. Okay. All right. every, I feel good about what we're doing. Our vaccination rate has continued to climb. We're above 80% at this point. You know, our kids have been really good inside of the building. Obviously, you know, what we've had to do protocol wise has changed here during the course of training camp. Mask required now in all of our meeting rooms. Kids have accepted it and done a really good job with it.
Back to the left with Ben.
Just with fall camp now in the books, I mean, do you feel like you have a good grasp of what you think is going to show up on the field on Thursday? Or are there still some things that you kind of want to learn about your team or some things you'll be looking forward to learning about your team?
I like a lot of things that we see on the practice field. As a coach, you're never completely satisfied. Good football teams continue to grow every single week. And someone asked a question earlier about, you know, managing the practice load that you put on your players versus having them prepared for game day, physically healthy. Like, you got to balance those two things, but you got to do good on good during the course of the week to continue to sharpen yourself. And we do that when we're in our helmet and shoulder pad practices during the course of the week. We're at the point now, though, where you got to go out and play, and it ain't gonna be perfect. This is not a game of perfection at any position for 60 minutes. How we handle those adverse situations will be a huge part of how our season unfolds. We've talked a lot about that with our team. You try to create adverse situations and teaching moments to be able to talk about those things. But it's time for us to go play, and we're going to see how we handle it on Thursday night.
Josh, when you look at the linebacker group, Jeremy Banks, Juwan Mitchell, those two guys right there, have they taken a step in the last 2 to 3 weeks, being those leaders that you're going to need on the field, especially getting the signals in, getting these guys lined up? How would you assess that linebacker group, especially with those two?
The group as a whole has continued to grow. Those two guys have grown a bunch. Jeremy, obviously not having any time on the field with our coaching staff, being banged up, coming back off of surgery during the spring. Juwan being new in June, getting in here, having to learn a defense. Obviously, all of his experiences in the different defenses that he played translate over, but the verbiage, terminology is different. Getting synchronized in that's really important. Both of those players in particular play extremely hard. Right? I mean, their speed, their athleticism shows up, their effort, their strain shows up. The rest of that group does as well, not to discount the other guys that are in that. I think you'll see multiple guys play at that position. Those two guys are going to play a lot of football and play at a really high level for us.
Coach, how would you describe the health of this team? And obviously some bumps and bruises through fall camp, but you feel like you're pretty healthy heading into Thursday?
You know, really are at this point. Really feel like, you know, really pretty much everybody's going to be available. You know, K-Ron obviously with his injury early in training camp won't be available, but pretty much everybody else is going to be ready to go roll on Thursday night. Excited to go see these guys compete. It's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, appreciate it.
Be available on SEC teleconference 11:50 Wednesday. We will have Jerome